There are places so remote, so silent, they seem untouched by time. But silence can lie. In the heart of Alaska, beyond the frozen peaks and endless snow, something waits. Lights with no source, machines with no explanation. Structures buried deep underground, and stories the government refuses to speak of. Why do pilots vanish near Mount Hayes? Why did the CIA send psychic spies to view something under the ice? And what is the pyramid beneath Denali, hidden from all maps yet pulsing with energy? Tonight we follow the trail, through classified documents, through chilling testimony, through a wilderness that hides more than just nature. This is not a legend, this is not fiction. This is the truth that was buried and may still be alive beneath the ice. Watch closely. What you're about to see may change the way you think about our world, and who or what was here before us. Mount Hayes does not roar. It hums quietly, endlessly, beneath layers of untouched snow and secrets. At over 13,000 feet, it stands alone in Alaska's eastern range, surrounded by vast emptiness. There are no highways, no hiking paths, only ice, wind, and whispers. From the outside, it appears like any other frozen peak, but those who have lived in its shadow tell a different story. Locals recall seeing lights, brilliant and unnatural, gliding silently across the sky, not blinking like aircraft, not shooting like meteors, but hovering, pulsing, shifting direction in impossible ways. Some say the lights drop into the mountain itself, disappearing through snow as if the ice were never solid. Hunters have returned from the slopes speaking of a stillness that made their skin crawl. Radios stop working, compasses spin. Time loses its grip, and then there are the disappearances. Since the 1940s, military aircraft have vanished in the vicinity. Search parties found no debris, no distress calls, just nothing. Elders from local tribes once called Hayes the mountain that sees. They warned that it watched from behind the veil. They spoke of spirits that danced in the sky, spirits that were neither God nor ghost, but something else. Something not born of earth. Then, during the Cold War, something changed. Unmarked helicopters began circling the peak. Men in black suits came and went from distant airstrips. The military called it routine surveillance. But the mountain had already chosen its story, and it whispered it only to those who dared to listen. The truth did not fall from the sky. It came from within minds. In 1995, a trove of CIA documents were released to the public, accidentally, some claim. Buried in the pages was a name, Project Stargate. It was no space mission. It was an experiment in perception. The U.S. government had, for years, trained men and women in remote viewing, a psychic technique meant to bypass distance and secrecy. These viewers could allegedly sit in a silent room, close their eyes, and mentally explore places they had never been. Their targets: Soviet missile bases, secret bunkers, and unexpectedly Mount Hayes. One of the most gifted viewers was a man named Pat Price. Pat was no mystic. He was analytical, disciplined, and precise. He drew what he saw with uncanny detail. Maps, schematics, topographies, he conjured landscapes like memories. When tasked with viewing Mount Hayes, Pat reported something shocking. He described massive tunnels beneath the peak, carved with a geometry too perfect for nature. He saw metallic chambers, instrumentation, and what he believed were computers, though none matched earthly design. More disturbing were the inhabitants. He claimed there were humanoid beings, taller than average, with elongated skulls and luminous skin, working alongside what appeared to be human military officers. They weren't prisoners. They weren't under attack. They were cooperating, and deep beneath them something else stirred, something alive not biologically but vibrationally. A consciousness trapped in stone, a machine with memory. Pat tried to warn people. He spoke privately with colleagues, then hinted to journalists. He was told to stop. He didn't. In 1975, while checking into a hotel in Las Vegas, Pat Price felt a sudden pain in his leg like a sharp sting. Hours later, he collapsed in convulsions. He died before sunrise. What followed was even stranger. The hospital never notified his wife. His body was cremated within a day. No autopsy, no explanation. Those who knew him believed it wasn't a heart attack. It was a message. They say Pat saw something he was never meant to see, and he paid the price. But the drawings he left behind still exist. And in them, Mount Hayes bleeds secrets that snow can no longer cover. The ground beneath Alaska does not lie still. In 1992, American geologists monitoring seismic waves detected something unusual near Mount Denali, just 130 miles southwest of Mount Hayes. A sharp pattern echoed back from below the ice, not natural. It formed a geometric shape, a perfect pyramid. Buried beneath 150 feet of frozen earth, the object stood over 550 feet tall, twice the size of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And unlike anything known to modern archaeology, it was made of an unknown dark black stone, dense, smooth, and impossibly ancient. Soon, whispers began to circulate among military contractors and telecommunications engineers. One name emerged over and over: Western Electric, a company deeply entangled with secret government technology. One man stepped forward through his son. The father had worked on a classified project in Alaska. His job: electronics and energy stabilization. What he found underground was not a mine. It was a facility embedded within a pyramid. He described a large freight elevator rising from the ice, disguised as an equipment shaft. Below it, chambers, offices, and 3 control stations, each at a corner of the pyramid's base. These were not offices of administration. They were measuring energy. Raw, unfiltered, and continuous energy flowing from the pyramid itself. The readings were impossible. Enough power, the engineers said, to run the entire nation of Canada, without wires, without fuel, just pulsing from stone. The man never spoke of it again, not even to his son. He vanished from records. His paycheck stopped, but others confirmed his story. Investigative journalist Linda Moulton Howe followed the trail, and she, too, found more than she expected. What lies inside the dark pyramid is not easily explained, because it doesn't behave like a structure, it behaves like a device. Witnesses describe walls that shimmer under certain lights, corridors that hum even in silence, a pressure in the air, like standing beneath thunderclouds, but underground. At each of the pyramid's 3 points, there were control rooms equipped with devices no one could identify. There were oscillators, crystal cores, and mechanisms that seemed to respond to thought rather than touch. Some said the walls themselves emitted light, cold and blue, with no source. Some floors vibrated slightly, like a frequency just outside of hearing. Others claimed that time slowed inside certain chambers. Watches stopped. Breaths took longer. Memory blurred. And then there was the heart of the pyramid. A massive circular platform floating inches above the ground, held up by nothing, pulsing gently. No one knows if it was made by humans, but no one claimed it either. No nation, no agency. No scientist dared to publish what they'd seen. Some whispered it was not built by us, that it had been there long before humans settled the land. A relic, a beacon, or worse, a reactor, if it is active. Then who or what turned it on? The mysteries of Alaska are not limited to Mount Hayes or Denali. They stretch wider, forming a triangle of terror across the state. Anchorage, Barrow, Juneau, between them lies a region where logic vanishes. Locals call it the Alaska Triangle, Pilots fear it. Rescue teams enter it and sometimes don't return. Within the triangle, aircraft have vanished mid-flight. No wreckage, no radio, no trace. Electronic systems fail without warning. GPS devices spiral into nonsense. Even compasses based on the magnetic field of the Earth start spinning like broken clocks. Theories abound. Some blame the region's intense magnetic anomalies. Others believe there are portals hidden within the mountains, rips in space-time that open and close at random. There are stories of beings of light walking the tundra, footsteps in snow that lead to nowhere, voices heard on empty plains, and always the lights return, hovering, watching, moving like thoughts through the dark. The deeper one looks, the more the triangle stares back. October 2019. Pilot Theo Chesley had flown over Alaska for 35 years. He had seen it all: storms, ice bursts, mountain turbulence. But what he saw that autumn changed everything. Northeast of Mount Hayes, he spotted something in the sky, a perfect sphere glowing, hanging silently in the air. It turned vertically and hovered, holding its shape with unnatural stillness. It wasn't a smoke ring. It didn't drift. It didn't move with the wind. It watched. Then something else emerged from the mountain itself. A second object, green, oval, and pulsing like a living eye. Chesley's plane drifted off course. Autopilot pulled him toward the mountain twice. He shut it off manually, but something in the air seemed to draw him in. Months later, another sighting. A massive cloud appeared in a clear sky instantly. It shifted forms, hiding something dark inside. His aircraft began veering again. What could turn the sky into a mirror? What kind of force can bend the path of a plane without touching it? Chesley had the photos. He had the data, but no one wanted to listen. Others had disappeared. He had come back. But something had changed in him. His voice was steady, but his eyes never stopped watching the clouds. The ice in Alaska is not just cold, it remembers. In 1992, just months after the pyramid anomaly was discovered near Denali, a seismic ripple from an underground nuclear test in China echoed across the planet. U.S. government instruments picked up something strange near Anchorage. It wasn't a natural tremor, it was a disturbance, as if something beneath the earth had moved. Soon after, a military counterintelligence officer named Douglas Muchler, stationed at Fort Richardson, saw a small local news story. A scan had detected a colossal pyramid structure underground, just 50 miles southwest of Mount McKinley. Curious, he contacted the station, but their answer was chilling. No further information is available. He tried again. The story was gone, files deleted, contacts silenced. Frustrated, he reached out to journalist Linda Moulton Howe, who had already been chasing the dark pyramid. Through her network, she received a message from a man who insisted on staying anonymous. His father, a former Navy engineer, had once worked on a top-secret energy project in Alaska. What he described mirrored earlier reports: an elevator shaft, a chamber deep underground, and a pyramid that pulsed with power, not like a machine, but like a heart. His father told him, "What's down there doesn't follow the laws of our science." That man never gave his name, but his fear was real, and Linda believed him. To this day, no official has denied the pyramid exists. They simply say nothing at all, and sometimes silence is the loudest proof. Inside the remote minds of Project Stargate, one final name stood out: Pat Price. The psychic who drew the tunnels, who saw the beings, who died mysteriously. But before his death, Pat left behind something few people know about. In his final notes, he described a second site, beneath another mountain, far north in the frozen vastness of interior Alaska. The mountain had no name, no recorded history, just coordinates and warnings. Price wrote of seeing geographic instruments embedded into the stone, massive control panels, pulses of light, and something watching from below, neither human nor machine. In his vision, humans were present, but they weren't in charge. They were guests, observers, possibly prisoners. He saw humanoid figures with translucent skin and elongated fingers, moving with eerie grace, performing tasks as if part of a ritual, not labor. There were no guards, no weapons, only obedience. At the core of this hidden mountain base was a vast room where light moved like liquid, responding to thought, emotion, even fear. Pat's drawings of this place were incomplete. Some pages were torn, others smeared. He told his colleague before he died, "There's something buried in Alaska, something old, and it's not just alien, it's alive." He never explained further. No one knows if that second site truly exists. But strange reports continue to trickle out of northern Alaska, planes losing power over the tundra, locals hearing humming underground, and glowing orbs appearing in the snow only to vanish when touched. Whatever watches from beneath the Alaskan ice is waiting, and if Pat Price was right, it doesn't want to be found, not yet. Mountains don't speak, but Alaska has whispered for decades, through missing planes, through strange lights, through pyramids that pulse like living hearts deep underground. The government won't answer. The witnesses have vanished. And those who saw too much paid the price. But the clues are still there in old documents, in magnetic anomalies, and in the stories that keep coming year after year. So ask yourself, what is Alaska hiding beneath its ice? And more importantly, who put it there? If you have a theory, or if you've seen something you can't explain, tell us below. Because here at X Site, we believe some secrets were never meant to stay frozen.